Hello guys, and we're here today with another very interesting deck profile. We're here today with some more Dark Magician Spellbook tech deck. Yes, this deck is back because we got the DMOC here. And so I'm calling this deck actually Dark Magician of Prophecy. Dark Magician Prophecy. So we're running the Prophecy stuff and the Spellbook stuff. And this deck is definitely very fun, very trolly, and actually very consistent, surprisingly. Very powerful. Pretty much you go off with your Spellbook engine, you get off all that searching, and then hopefully you have something like a Card of Demise, or maybe you already have Dark Magic Circle in your hand. One of those two already in your hand, and then you just activate them, and you've done so many searching that you just draw into your Dark Magician stuff, and if you end up discarding them and sending them to the graveyard, it's no problem. Eternal Soul is there to special summon them out. Well, except for DMOC. DMOC cannot be specialed by Eternal Soul, but he can be special summoned by Spellbook of Life. So let's just go into the deck profile. So 2 Dark Magicians, so that kind of puts a no-no on the Ebon Illusion Magician. I really don't feel like playing 3 Dark Magician. I feel that would just kind of clog, because you do want to get that Spellbook engine going. You want to open up with Secrets and then another Spellbook card, so that we can go Secrets, Master, and then either into Towers or into Fate. I'd probably go Fate because that sets you up for a really decent play with Magician of Prophecy. And so you just don't want to run 3 of him. You want to have that consistency. And then only 1 DMOC because okay, same reason, but of course it's easily summonable with Temperance, and of course summon from the graveyard with Spellbook of Life. So just being able to add a spell card such as Dark Magic Circle, or Card of Demise, or Spellbook of Secret, or even Duality, or Fates is just definitely very, very useful for this deck, seeing how it's running 26 spells. And then Magician's Rod is of course Magician's Rod, just being able to search out Dark Magic Circle or Eternal Soul, whichever one you need, and getting your Dark Magician engine set up. And then Temperance, of course, is our link between the 2 engines. It will allow us to summon either Dark Magician or DMOC. You want to summon out Dark Magician first, unless you don't have Eternal Soul. If you don't have Eternal Soul, I would even say if you don't have either of them, because even if you have Dark Circle, of course, if you summon out Dark Magician, you get a Banisher card, so that's definitely useful. But unless you don't have either of these, then yeah, summon out DMOC. He gets you a spell card back, and that's great. And you'll be able to banish a monster that he destroys per battle. So, but if you have your Eternal Soul, you have your Dark Magic Circle, go for your DMOC, so that way you have the engine set up and you can summon them out if something happens. Spellbook Magician of Prophecy, he can of course be searched out by Secret. He will of course search out Secret or Master. So pretty much the combo is to either have one of these guys. If you have him, then search Secrets, then search Master. Or if you have Secret, search him, then search Master. And you can search for either Towers or Fates, or if you already have both of them, maybe another Fates, because having more than one is never a bad thing, despite that you can only activate one. So not an awful thing. And then 2 powers, of course it is possible to use powers twice using Master. As long as you have another Spellbook card in your hand, you can target powers and then target a monster, and it gains 1,000 plus the 1,000 that you put onto it with power. So that's really great to put on DMOC, putting him up to 4,800, being able to run over anything and banish it, and Spellbook of Power, and thus Master will still get the effect to search, which is great. Being able to inflict 2,000 plus damage, or just get off 2 more searches, really, really nice. And just all this searching potential just really helps with our Dark Magic Circle when it reveals the top 3 cards of our deck, which makes it all the more likely that it's a Dark stuff really too. Card of Demise, of course, this has no downside in this deck unless you draw into a lot of monsters, because if you discard your monsters, specifically the Dark Magician support, you can always get them back. Magician Rod can get himself back when you activate a spell card during your opponent's turn, and then Dark Magicians can be summoned out with Eternal Soul, and DMOC, like I said, with Spellbook of Life. And so just being able to set all your spells activated, draw 2, maybe 3 cards is definitely very useful, and then maybe being able to set or continue your rampage and set, do even more consistency plays. Spellbook of Eternity, do not banish this card with Fates. If you do, it's practically a game loss. Or long term, if your opponent can continue, if you just can't go for game each turn after this banished, it just becomes worse and worse and worse for you. So we're only running 1, and it's our only way to get back the spellbook cards that we banish with Fate. And so it's a card you always want to put back into the deck with Tower. And so it's a card you search out with Prophecy. So if you go for Prophecy and then go for Secret, and go for Math, and then go for Fates, you can pay to flip Spellbook Magician of Prophecy face down, and when he's flipped face up, you get to add a Spellbook spell card. So if your opponent attacks him, You can then search out Eternity, and then Eternity next turn can get you back secrets, and then you can go and get Spell Magician of Prophecy again if you don't have a better normal summon. And then of course one upstart, and then for other draw powers card, Into the Void, really just pretty basic, just more draw more card type stuff. And you should have, especially when if you're going first and you're opening up, you should be able to get this guy off, because I mean you have 5 cards, and if you don't see it, then you don't have draw power besides Card of Demise, which draw you 3 cards, and so it should always be, for the most part, it's only after you've said stuff, after you've made room for Card of Demise and you've done a whole bunch of stuff, that it's not very useful. But if you don't like Into the Void, you could run Left Arm Offroad, which I'm not a fan because of this last effect. You cannot set spell trap cards during you activate this card, because that really means that you're going to be banishing a lot of cards from your hand, but you're okay with that, because again, as long as you have Eternity, you can just add it back, and so as long as Eternity isn't you add it back, you could always have Card of Demise, and so those are just 3 good cards right off the bat, or like Spellbook of Life, but why would you go with Spellbook of Life and not Secrets just to do that? So it isn't a worse thing, because it would help connect the different archetypes and engines, so you could get Dark Magic Circle and do the searching, or get Card of Demise and draw 3 cards and just laugh at your opponent. So if you don't like Into the Void, banishing your entire hand is an option, and if you do, take this card out and run something like, instead of this card, run on DDR or something, because banishing your entire hand, or maybe put Eternity up to 2. And then to round out the consistency cards, we have Triple Duality, just definitely very, very useful after doing everything. Just use it one last card to search, to go through your deck. Great for getting those Card of Demise and the whatnot. Or maybe you have it already, and then you draw in, you use Card of Demise, you draw 3 cards, and then you use Duality, and it's like, sweet, I got the Dark Magician, I have my Eternal Soul already, I have my Dark Magic Circle. Just pretty decent overall. And so for the rest of the Spellbook engine, we have Secrets, of course, just add a Spellbook card to your, and then going to activate Fates per turn, unfortunately. And then Fates is awesome. It does not target for any of its effects. You have to banish a certain amount of spellbook cards from your graveyard. If you banish 1, you get a bounce a set spell or trap card to your hand. If you banish 2, you can change 1 monster on the field to either face down defense position or face up attack position, such as this guy. Or if you want to just mess with Burning Abyss players, turn one of their monsters face down and then watch all their monsters get popped. Or what I like about this the best is banish 1 card your opponent controls. It does not target, so if your opponent cannot negate it, and they don't want something banished, they can get rid of it, but you get to banish something else. So definitely very useful, and just helps with the entire banishing type thing with Democ and then Dark Magic Circle. And then Spellbook of Life, just banish a spellcaster type monster from your graveyard, reveal a spellbook card in your hand, and then special summon out a spellcaster monster and gains level equal to the banished monster. It doesn't matter about the level change, because I mean you can't make these guys 7 to make this or this guy, but you can make him a level 15. But why would you do that? So you can summon out Democ if you have to discard it for Card of Demise, or summon out any of these other guys. You could use it to get Temperance back, so if your opponent negates Temper, so if they strike him, you could use this card to get him back. And then because it says you cannot spell summon another level 5 or higher monster during the turn you activate this card, because you didn't technically activate it because it was striked and its effect was the activation wasn't negated, you can activate it again. And so the final card is Spellbook Towers. Grand Spellbook Tower is actually really good. Just during your standby phase, draw another card after putting a spellbook card in your graveyard to the bottom of the deck. So the cards you want to do it with is Eternity, Secrets, and Fate, not necessarily in that order. Eternity is definitely the one, because if you get your loop going, if you get set up and you're using Fates and you're using stuff, you want that Eternity in your hand, because you probably have another Secret, or you probably have some other card that you can use to search off of, and then but that can also result in Fate just not having a Fate, and that can be really annoying and actually kind of bad not having a Fate face down. So you do have to make that decision. I like to have Eternity in the deck, so that way I can get back to my Secrets that I've banished, or my powers that I've banished, or occasionally the Masters. So Spellbook of Fate is nonetheless, Towers is nonetheless really great, just getting that extra draw power, because with all this draw power, this guy is awesome. When you activate this card, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, reveal 1 Dark Magician or 1 Spell Trap card that lists the DM in its text and add them to your hand. Regardless, place the remaining cards on top of your deck in any order. That's great because that means you can draw into the cards that you put on the top of your deck with Grand Spellbook Tower. Oh, I get the next card doing. So you put a card of Demise on the top of your deck, and then you draw into Duality, and then you set the Duality, and you get to activate the card of Demise. Really, really awesome plays, and the whatnot. And of course, Into the Void, just being able to set stuff in Duality. Well, Duality doesn't work out so well. You want to use Duality before Dark Magic Circle, but you want to use Dark Magic Circle before you activate these guys, so that way you know what you're going into. And so it's just another link between the archetypes, the engines, just being able to draw into the cards that you place on top of your deck, unless of course you end up shuffling your deck because you use Spellbook Magician or Prophecy during your opponent's turn or whatnot. And then for the final card in the deck, for the main deck, is Eternal Soul. Your Dark Magicians aren't affected by other card effects, which is really great. And special summon 1 Dark Magician from your hand to graveyard. And we do not play Dark Magic Attack, which is, it's a great card, but it's a card that you play after you've done everything that you want to do. If you cannot do what you want to do, which is summon out Dark Magician, you cannot use it. I mean, it's great to have and be able to pull out your opponent and just make them cry, but I'm not so certain about the consistency of this deck. I would warrant playing that, because I really want to focus more about at least trying to get out my monsters than getting rid of my opponent's back row. Not to say that the consistency of this deck is awful. As you guys can see, this deck should be theoretically should be extremely consistent. Of course, if you get the wrong cards, if you draw into many monsters, or if just through different circumstances, it can clog. But for the most part, you guys will see in the duels, it's just crazily fun, just being able to blow people out. And then, of course, for the extra deck, like I said, this guy's a little bit dead unless you put him up to 3, or unless, no, you can't even detach. So yeah, he's not even there. So you could put in like Big Eye. You could put in just bring 7s and generals. Of course, Ebon Void Magician being able to float. Dark Spellcaster from your hand or deck if he is sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card effect or by battle. So of course that can summon out Demark. Wow, I did not think about that. And then destroy 1 card on the field, so that can be used to get rid of one of your opponent's stuff. So him being able to float and summon out Demark is pretty decent as well. And of course, if you wanted to put in rank 3s, you could do that, or you could even put in some rank 2s, but you don't really make them all that often. It's not very important. It would help. There is no downside to being able to make an owl card, but this deck doesn't, like, the only times you make that is when your opponent doesn't get rid of Magician's Rod, doesn't get rid of Tempest, which you should have used to summon out Demark, or used to summon out DM. And of course, this guy only stays if your opponent lets him stay. Unless, of course, you decide to banish with Fate. And so that is it for the deck. Of course, this is a really great deck. There's a lot of variety to it, a lot of power to it, being able to do a lot of different stuffs. Left Arm Offering is definitely a card that you could put in this deck, but it would be a heavy cost, and it could probably, because if you banish both of your Dark Magicians, you're gonna cry. Unless you do draw into DDR. But of course, if you search out card of Demise, like, I mean, what would be the point of that? Is to use this to banish Dark Magician to get DDR. Like, I don't know. I don't know about that. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this deck. Tell me guys what you think of Dark Magician. Of course, for the TCG, we don't have to worry about this deck anytime soon. This is still OCG exclusive. Specifically this card. Dark Magician's not going to do a thing in the TCG if we don't get this card. Please come out in the Megatons. Please come out in the Megatons. So again, hopefully you guys enjoyed this deck. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. See you guys later. Bye.